he has had no real professional opponents other than Tommy Fury that were legitimate world-class boxers.
Yeah.
The problem is he was like a famous kid, and then no one took him seriously.
Yeah.
You just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw,
me like sparring.
Yeah.
When I watched it, which, look, I paid for it. They got me. I thought it was going to be a real fight.
But me, I'm going to speak my mind. I'm just going to keep it 100, man. Jake Paul is fugazi. He's fake. That's how you feel. Truly feel. I'll bust him up and his trainer.
Tonight, we're getting a double feature. Joe Rogan's reaction is pure disbelief when Anthony Joshua drops this bombshell about Jake Paul wanting everything choreographed beforehand. Joshua made it crystal clear he was only interested in stepping into that ring for a legitimate fight where both men could actually get hurt. Rogan breaks down how Paul's previous victories keep getting called out for looking way too staged with opponents who seemed more like willing participants than actual threats. These questionable wins have artificially inflated both his record and his rankings, creating all this championship buzz without him ever facing truly elite competition. This whole situation has fans everywhere wondering what's real and what's performance art, sparking heated arguments throughout the entire boxing community.
Like you would assume that wealth would take away your drive for
But
competition.
It hasn't, yeah.
He's also nuts, right? Just the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
Rogan's take on this is that the whole thing felt more like a technical workout than an actual war. He breaks down how sure there were some tense moments scattered throughout, but it never escalated to that dangerous territory where you're genuinely worried about someone taking life-changing damage. Rogan points out that boxing has this ability to turn absolutely vicious in the blink of an eye, so watching both guys leave the ring without any serious harm is actually something to celebrate. His main point is that keeping fighters safe should always trump creating viral moments. And he's relieved nobody absorbed those kind of devastating blows that stick with you forever.
Him for a long time. I've known him for a long time.
Chael Sonnen is looking at this whole scenario and saying none of it adds up from a competitive standpoint. His breakdown focuses on how someone with just 11 professional fights has absolutely no business sharing a ring with a proven Olympic medalist. The difference in skill level, professional experience, and understanding of ring psychology is astronomical, according to Sonnen. He also highlights how the size advantage makes this matchup even more questionable, since the veteran fighter wasn't just operating on a completely different competitive tier, but also carrying significantly more natural weight. Sonnen's argument centers on how legitimate boxing commissions and professional trainers would typically shut down this kind of mismatch before it ever got sanctioned. For him, this fight completely ignores fundamental competitive principles, which gives fans every right to question whether what they're watching is genuine sport or elaborate entertainment designed primarily for headlines and ticket sales rather than authentic athletic competition.
If I'm cheering for Jake or if I think that Joshua is more experienced or better, I believe I believe boxing's real. If boxing is an actual sport, if it is an actual sweet science, then of course a guy that's done it 11 times cannot compete with the Olympic champion. Of course. This is before you get size in there, before you get professional world titles in there. A guy that's done this 11 times cannot go into the Olympic Games and medal. If boxing, in fact, should be believed. I was with Portnoy. I liked it. I liked how he said that. So, that's how I feel too. Because I'm also cheering for Jake Paul. But I get it. I know we're not going to win tonight. But that's a compliment to boxing. And it is very hard for people to digest that Anthony Joshua can't cut him off. He can't find him. He can't do anything with that reach. He can't go out there and rush him. He can't throw this kid in a corner and beat him up. That is disappointing to me. That is baffling to me. As an MMA guy, I will just share with you, that would not be a problem at all. At all. If a guy's running away from me, it would be absolutely no problem. And you could put the boundaries at the city line. You could put it at the state line. I will track him down. I will put him somewhere and I will beat the dog out of him. So in a ring, I get where that is really disappointing. I get it, but it doesn't change the fact that that's what happened. And then Joshua, by the way, has the right to turn to some other thing. Where I'm saying he had to cut him off, grab him, throw him in the corner, go beat him up. Well, I'm saying that Joshua has the right to go, nah, I could feel some stuff. I knew it was going to come my way, right? For Joshua to say, well, I had the experience, and yeah, he was moving, and yeah, I could have cut him off a little different. But I didn't mind the way this was going. I didn't mind that he was running. I knew he would slow down. I knew he would come to me eventually. Like, for that to be Joshua's mindset.
Rogan's perspective on Jake Paul centers around his genuine desire to establish himself as a legitimate competitor, consistently stepping up against real opposition to prove he belongs in professional boxing. He emphasizes how Jake performs best when facing authentic challenges rather than predetermined outcomes or cooperative opponents. However, taking on Anthony Joshua represents a massive leap in competition level that's unlike anything he's experienced before. Rogan notes that since Jake has never encountered someone with Joshua's combination of size, power, and professional pedigree, there are major question marks around his conditioning and ability to absorb punishment from an equally large and seasoned heavyweight. While he acknowledges Jake's demonstrated technical skills and hand speed, the critical unknowns around his durability and gas tank against elite heavyweight competition leave everyone guessing about how he'd actually perform.
When we expect Jake Paul to be fighting like higher level competition, it's not because he has under 10 fights. It's because he talks a lot of shit.
Yeah, but that's also why we're talking about him.
And that's exactly true. But I think on both sides of the equation, we've got to like admit that a young fighter under 5 fights isn't fighting great competition. So if you're calling Jake Paul a legitimate boxer and then you're expecting him to do what legitimate boxers do, I'm not sure he's not doing that, and probably more.
That's what I'm saying about the knockout of Tyron Woodley, because it was just a regular boxer who's just coming up. And what does he have, 6 fights?
Tim Bradley delivers a scathing assessment of Jake Paul, flat out calling him inauthentic and questioning the legitimacy of his entire boxing career. He argues that Paul's fights consistently look choreographed, with his opponents appearing to follow predetermined patterns rather than genuinely trying to win. Bradley hammers home how these manufactured results have allowed Jake to construct a misleading record that oversells his actual fighting ability. His message to fans is clear: don't get fooled by the entertainment value, because what you're watching isn't representative of real boxing talent or genuine risk-taking. Bradley believes Paul's methods are damaging to boxing's credibility and creating false expectations for young fighters trying to make it in the sport.
But I can't knock you I can't knock your hustle when you built something outside of boxing and you say, hey, yo, I'm coming over here to the sport now and I'm gonna pick and choose who I fight. Y'all come follow me. If they follow him, man, I just understand what it is. I know what I'm looking at. You're not gonna fool me over here. Save that stuff for them other people, because I'm not gonna believe that I'm the face of. No, you're not the face of boxing. I'm not giving you that, because that's for a lifer.
But that's what he believes.
That's cool. I can't knock him for that. People believe a lot of things for a lot of different reasons. I'm just saying, you can do all the rah-rah stuff. That's your business. But I just know what I'm looking at, right? But on the monetary side and it being an event, the truth is that when he does fight, it does bring attention around the sport. People debate, they argue, people want to see the fight. Is it legit? Is it him and Mike Tyson? No, it's an event.
Daniel Cormier gives Jake Paul significant credit for his courage in accepting a fight against Anthony Joshua, recognizing the enormous danger that comes with that decision. Even though he jokes about how a $100 million payday might motivate anyone to step in there, he acknowledges the legitimate bravery required to face an established heavyweight after competing against much smaller opponents throughout his career. Cormier breaks down Paul's athletic ability and ring intelligence, explaining how his constant movement and defensive strategy helped him avoid absorbing Joshua's most devastating power shots. He points out that maintaining that level of mobility and evasiveness is incredibly draining. Yet Paul managed to survive against world-class opposition. Drawing from his wrestling background, Cormier emphasizes the mental and physical resilience needed every time you get dropped or backed up against the ropes. His final assessment is that Paul's performance showed genuine heart, smart adaptation, and real respect for both the sport and his opponent, proving that regardless of the controversy surrounding his previous fights, he approached this challenge with complete seriousness.
I thought Jake Paul's a brave guy. Then I found out he made $100 million. I was thinking, well, anybody would fight for $100 million, but bro, he fought. I literally ran into Logan Paul in New York City, and I said to him, it was weird too, because I was going into a studio to interview Kamaru Usman for one of my shows. And Logan Paul was at the coffee shop. He's like, DC. I was like, what's up, Logan? Because he does a tremendous job in WWE. Yeah, Logan Paul does.
I don't watch WWE, but I know that.
Dude, you're huge. He might literally be the best professional wrestler in the world.
Really?
He's such an athlete, bro.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. But I'm just stroking him right now. I swear to God, bro, it's unbelievable how good the kid is.
Okay.
From the moment he started doing it, he was really good.
He can cut a promo, huh? Like,
He got what kids say. Promo. He's got a promo, but he's also good in the ring.
Okay.
He's really athletic. I said to him, I go, what type of safeguards do you have in place to make sure he doesn't get his head knocked off against Anthony Joshua? He's gonna fight Gervonta Davis, who weighed in at 137 2 fights ago. So now you're gonna go fight Anthony Joshua, who weighs all of 250? He said, all right. He said, he's gonna just fight him. I go, man, he's very bold. And then what happened was he ran a lot.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Everybody goes, even Eddie Hearn goes, he did better than Francis. And I'm like, well, Francis didn't move around much. Francis thought he could actually fight him because of what he did to Tyson Fury, right? Couldn't. Tyson Fury might have overlooked him a little bit, and I think that's what happened. Like, he got caught with the right hand dropped. Anthony Joshua was like, I'm not taking any chances with this guy. So he fought him, and he took him serious. But Francis didn't move. Jake did a good job of moving around for a long time, but all that moving costs energy. Right?
I mean, I used to spar with the Robert Guerrero here in Gilwood.
Yep.
And I would go in and spar with him. I'd tell people that I would spar with him for his first 4 rounds. He would do 12 rounds.
Yep.
He would use me as his warm-up rounds.
Yep.
And I was in fight shape. I wouldn't go and spar unless I was ready to fight. Like, I was 2 or 3 weeks out from my I was ready to fight. And by the 4th round, I was fucking exhausted. And he would just make me miss. You know, if you miss more, it makes you more tired.
Especially when you're throwing big punches like Jake was throwing.
Yeah.
And then wrestling. He's like shooting double legs and shit. Like, all you look like Dylan Davis. Oh, or seconds, bro. All that wrestling was crazy, dog. I was like, bro, have you ever in my life seen that much wrestling in a boxing match?
It was Dylan Davis, Logan Paul all over again.
Every time he would fall, you got to get up.
Yeah.
Every time you shoot, you got to get up.
It makes you more
It should be more iron off you. It's a worse shot. I mean, and Anthony Joshua was 250 pounds.
Eddie Hearn took a measured approach when discussing the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul encounter, breaking down exactly how everything unfolded. He stressed that their game plan was always crystal clear from the beginning. Maintain composure, dictate the fighting tempo, and systematically break Paul down before going for the knockout. Hearn explained how this strategy was specifically designed to reduce any unnecessary danger, while still establishing a complete control inside those ropes. In his view, every single aspect of the fight went exactly as they had mapped out beforehand, showcasing Joshua's mental discipline and proving that calculated patience beats reckless aggression every single time. This methodical execution allowed them to keep everyone safe while still providing all the drama and excitement that fans came to see.
Break him down. He said before the fight, I'm going to break him down and then I'm going to knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. I thought it would be all over within 3 rounds. But, you know, when I got in the ring after, because I was shouting, just, you know, anywhere, arms. I got in, he went, what are you rushing me for? And I was like, oh, sorry. So, but like, obviously he knows what he's doing, and actually now quite pleased that we got the rounds, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw you said that. Really random, I was on Twitter and I saw Jake Paul's mom said she wants to get in the ring and punch you. She said she doesn't like the smug look on your face. She is promoting her book, so I'm not sure if she wants, you know. But did you see that? What did you think of that?
No, I was very sad because I couldn't have been nicer and more respectful of Jake and what he's done. And I think Logan's amazing. I think he's an incredible athlete. And I shook Jake Paul's dad's hand in the ring, you know. And if I would have seen Mum, I would have said, all right. But I think over the years, we've obviously had our beef, and she probably don't like me anyway. And I am probably a little bit smug. I wasn't smug after the fight because I would have been more smug if it was all over in a round. Yeah. So, no, I give Jake respect. And, sorry, Jake's mum doesn't like me, but if she can send me a free book.
Duke McKenzie brought a deeply technical analysis based on decades of professional experience in the sport. He made it clear that his assessment came from pure boxing knowledge rather than any personal feelings about either fighter, which adds serious credibility to his observations. Mackenzie's main argument was that the fight's outcome spoke for itself so clearly that extensive breakdown was almost redundant. He focused on how Joshua's mental toughness and tactical brilliance were on full display from start to finish, demonstrating that the results accurately reflected the massive gap in professional experience and technical ability without any need exaggeration. In his mind, this was a perfect example of a master boxer using superior strategy and discipline to completely dominate a significantly less experienced opponent.
Reminded me of like when you got a fly on the windscreen and you're trying to swat it, and you're trying to swat it and you miss and you keep tapping, and then eventually, bang, you get it. That's exactly what that fight was. Jake Paul didn't get in there to win last night. He got in there to survive. And he didn't do a better job of surviving. He sold the fight brilliantly. That's what he is. He's a salesman. And he's a YouTuber, influencer, call him whatever you want. So from that perspective, he did his job, but he never got in there to win. He just got in there to got beat up. I'm glad Anthony Joshua done a number on him. This is why boxers are boxers, YouTubers, whatever they want to call themselves, influencers, they should stay in their lane and fight people that they're supposed to fight on their level. This guy was never on Anthony Joshua's level, and Joshua did what he needed to do, did what he had to do for the sake of boxing, and blow this guy out and just knock him out.
What about the fact that Jake was able to land on him clean a couple of times? What did you make of that?
Oh, listen, you can't get into the water without getting hit. Fortunately for Joshua, that guy can't break an egg. So he was never in any danger. He's always going to get hit back. I mean, it was 6 rounds. Anthony Joshua was always going to take at least 1 or 2 shots over that 6-round period, but it was nothing to hurt him. It was nothing to bother him. And like I say, this is all about getting AJ's confidence back. Okay. If Jake Paul fights, if he fights KSI or KFC or whatever his name is, then those two are evenly matched, aren't they? They're evenly matched, and then they could fight, and then because they're evenly matched.
Lawrence Oswecki took a broader view of the entire situation, focusing on boxing's inherent unpredictability and danger. His main point was that inside those ropes, one split second of poor judgment can completely change everything, regardless of how famous you are, how hard you've trained, or how much publicity surrounds the event. Oswecki's analysis centered on the constant risk and volatile nature that defines professional boxing, stressing that even the smallest mental error can lead to catastrophic results. His commentary served as an important reality check that boxing isn't just entertainment for the masses, it's an extremely high-stakes athletic competition where maintaining focus and respecting the sport's brutal potential is absolutely critical for survival.
Well done to Jake for surviving, but he wasn't trying to win. Every once in a while in between running, he would throw a wish, hope it would land, and do some damage. He was just hoping that Santa would come early and give him a present, a gift from the god. There's a reason in the jungle that a gazelle sometimes outruns a cheetah, the fastest animal, because fear makes you survive. But unfortunately, this baby gazelle ran out of steam. For AJ, it was like a light sparring session. You could see he didn't fear anything coming back. After the fight, he looked like he'd been for a light jog. AJ knew the constant pressure was breaking him down because trust me, when you've got a guy who can punch stalking you, it's tiring because you can't switch off. One mistake and you could end up asleep. AJ's a massive puncher. Even the punches that weren't landing clean were doing damage. Any heavyweight landing in 10-ounce gloves isn't fun. Again, credit to Jake. He got dropped, but he kept getting back up. That big head is durable. Did Jake do what he said he was going to do? No. He's a businessman. He sells the dream. At no stage did he really try to win. It was a bank robbery in broad daylight. On paper, he shouldn't have been there. He got in and kind of gave it a go. He risked his life for the fans' entertainment. Was it brave or stupidity? Well, regardless, I still think he's been great for boxing, bringing new eyes to the sport. Just look what he's done for female boxing. The undercard was female heavy, giving them opportunity, giving them a platform. Personally, I think it's great. For Jake Paul, the fight was a win-win. Once he's healed up, he can come again. but next time, fight someone at your level, light heavyweight or cruiserweight. And he did show heart, and I did see some improvement, despite the fact he was mainly running. He did show good movement and decent defence. People saying it's embarrassing for AJ. No, it's not. He just got his best and easiest payday. He can laugh his way to the bank. Nobody can honestly say if they were AJ, given the opportunity, they wouldn't take it. Come on, AJ, I'm bigging you up. Lend me a...
Luke Thomas positioned himself as the primary voice challenging all the positive coverage Jake Paul received after the fight ended. Thomas contended that the media excitement was completely overblown, arguing that the popular narrative inflated Paul's actual achievements while downplaying Joshua's complete tactical control throughout the bout. His analysis stressed the need to evaluate these fights based on genuine skill demonstration, professional experience, and real competitive risk rather than getting caught up in social media buzz and promotional spectacle. When you combine Joshua's smart strategic execution, Mackenzie's expert technical breakdown, and Osweiki's important reminders about boxing's dangers, you get a complete picture of exactly why this fight played out the way it did.
Him surviving kind of feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. A little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled his punches, partly because Jake was squirmy and rotating on the outside. Also in part because I think, as I indicated on Friday, he's watching this guy with pretty bad footwork. He was literally tripping over himself.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.